Welcome to Fort Burnside. This place was built in 1942 as the harbor entrance control post.
Yeah.
It used to monitored all the shipping traffic, primarily coming into Narragansett Bay from right here. And all of this overgrowth you see was not here. There was actually a lawn here. And this was the terminus for a set of underwater microphones, hydrophones out south of the point, and magnetic loops, so that if a ship crossed over the loop,
Yeah.
it would be detected
Yeah.
here. And in this room, there was a raised platform with two desks, and there was a Navy officer and an Army officer, Coast Artillery, and they were responsible for passing the ships. In other words, if a ship was given the code of the day, and again, none of this foliage was this high; it was all much lower. There's a signal bridge up top as well, and that's what he used to.
So what is this equipment out here?
Well, it's just remnants of my gathering. I mean, obviously we've civilianized the building.
Yeah.
This is the living room now instead of the observation room.
Yeah.
So.
What about all this equipment in here?
Well,
Just give me a rundown on
Radio
this.
Central.
Yeah.
Well, originally this was the radio and the code room. And there were probably 3 different sets here. I've never actually I haven't been down to the National Archives to determine exactly what was here. I have a pretty good idea of the sets that were here, none of which are represented by the present configuration. This is just my random acquisition mode insanity run rampant.
So you have all this test equipment here that you do all the repair work and that right here?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Can't own this junk without fixing it.
Yeah.
So.
Boy, you have a variety of test equipment.
Well,
So.
it's a hodgepodge, and it's not particularly neat, but anyway, it's a representation of primarily Navy gear.
Yeah. Could you just give us a rundown on what each one is?
Well, this is a WRT-2. It's a late 50s design Westinghouse set that was used by the Navy in great numbers on board ship. Sideband set, a phasing sideband set. 4 4CX350s in parallel nominally 500 watts, but it would run a little bit more.
Yeah.
And those were used right up, actually I think they were used even on the reincarnation of the battleships in the late 80s and early 90s. Then I'm sure there's still a few in use. This is a URT-2, a Federal Telephone and Radio creation of the late 40s in the Navy and military in general's attempt to have a stable, medium power teletype transmitter. It's auto-tune, but it was rather problematic. It was the first truly synthesized transmitter. The oscillator has a mere 57 tubes in it to
Wow.
generate the signal. And but what they went to was the SRT-14, which is a manual tune version of this. Problematic in itself and with its own quirks, but less trouble than. This is another interesting set here. This is a national FRR-24, is also known as the FRR-37. It's a diversity receiver. There was actually a third and fourth bays, another bay of receivers. What it really is 4 separate heads covering 2 to 30 megs, and the IF and AF sections down here, but it was, again, intended for teletype reception. Developed in the late 40s, early 50s, a shore-based equipment. And again, diversity. So there was a third rack of receivers and then a fourth rack with teletype terminal units in it. And kind of cute, but again, 87 tubes in each one. So
Yeah.
the maintenance factor was pretty high. So that's why these things didn't last all that long. The rest of it is, well, it's fairly common. R390As, R390s. SP600, the venerable T368, known affectionately as a T3, 400 final 400 watt AM set, used primarily in the ANGRC 26D Army. Again, primarily used for teletype, sat on the back of a 2.5 ton truck. Quite a few guys use those, and they're a nice sounding rig.
On the AM,
Yes.
AM nets and
yeah,
that.
it's a desirable piece of gear. With minimal modification, it can make broadcast sound.
Yeah.
So, and then the Collins S line, which doesn't need any explanation, and the Gold Dust twins, KWS1. One of the first well-known sideband rigs. You know those pieces.
Yeah, 75, 84.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The concrete protective shield and entering the soft, non-tactical areas of the bunker. So this is radio 2, because you can't have enough radios.
Okay.
Another one.
And this is World War II type stuff, huh?
Yeah. This is all World War II gear. Actually, this was the radar room for the fort. At World War II, the time this was built, 1942, radar was just coming into service, as you know, as a former radar guy. And one of the first real uses for it was gun laying, coast artillery. And so there was a set here. The receiver indicator was down here, and the transmitter and antenna up on the roof.
Was it actually electrically connected to the guns, or did they just call something down?
It was not electrically connected. It was
So they called down range and azimuth?
Correct. Manual relay of data.